The federal government on Thursday last week disagreed with organized labor over a threat to declare a nationwide strike in the next 14 days. Fears of another labor dispute has resurfaced following the failure of government to implement the Memorandum of Understanding reached with the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress in October 2023. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has asked the unions to exercise restraint and allow the government to address their grievances after the removal of the fuel subsidy by President Bola Tinubu on May 29, 2023. The labor unions reached a 16-point agreement with the federal government on measures to cushion the impact of the removal on workers. Joe Ajaero is the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, the umbrella body of Nigerian workers. He joins me now from Abuja. Good day, President NLC, and welcome to This Day Live. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, sir.
Well, Comrade Ajaero, Labour has now served notice with effect from February 9 that organized labor will embark on strike because government has failed, according to organized labor, to honor the 16-point agreement that was reached in October 2023, October 2nd, 2023, to be precise. 16 points agreement, 16 points total. But the Minister of Information has appealed to organized labor to be patient, that this is not the time to go on strike again. You've been patient for 5 months. The minister says you should still be patient. But first, what has led to this decision to give a strike notice? Is it that none of the 16 points in the Memorandum of Understanding, none at all, has been observed?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Abati. I don't know what the minister was trying to imply by asking us to be patient. Because between May 29th, when the Mr. President announced that subsidy has been removed, to October was almost 4 or 5 months for us to eke out that agreement. And the agreement was to take effect from October. There was no arrears. And then in October, they paid 1 month. November, December, January, we are now in February. No payment is made. Nobody was talking with us. Nothing. On other issues, we ask Nigerians, have you seen the CNG buses on the road? On the issue of cash transfer, on all the issues, the issue of Port Harcourt refinery, we are supposed to pay a visit there to see the extent of work to ensure that it starts production by December. That one has not been achieved. So why would the minister tell us, to exercise restraint or exercise patience? I don't think that he's fair to organize labor. I don't think at all. So we want to appeal to the minister to talk to his cabinet to please make sure that before the expiration of the ultimatum, they implement the agreement so far reached with organized labor.
Okay, but let me look at some of the details of that agreement so that we can be on the same page in terms of what government has honored in that agreement and has not honored. Number one, that 16-point agreement was supposed to be taken to the National Industrial Court for a consent judgment to formalize it. Was that done? 2, the federal government said
action.
Nothing was done. Hello?
No action.
Okay. Again?
Yes, sir. No action.
Okay. Again, the government said that tax incentives will be given to Nigerian workers. And indeed, in this regard, I think between October and December, VAT and customs duty was removed from the importation of LPG, that's cooking gas. And also, Diesel. VAT was also, removed for diesel for a period of 6 months. Was that done?
What was this? What was the essence? We are not aware. The essence of removing it is to bring down the cost. Was the cost brought down?
Okay. Now, government also said it was going to make available 100 billion for CNG buses, and that about 55,000 conversion kits will be provided in different parts of the country. And indeed, we saw some buses being refurbished in Abuja, being converted. What happened to those buses?
We have not seen any bus on the road, sir.
Okay, what are the 35,000 naira that the federal government agreed to give federal civil servants from September for a period of about 6 months? 35,000 naira as minimum
Only
wage.
1 month paid.
Only 1 month was paid.
Only 1 month paid.
Okay.
Paid in some places, not all places.
Okay, government also said it was going to give 25,000 naira for 3 months to about 5 million Nigerians. Was that done?
There is no evidence of payment, and that's what led to what is happening in the humanitarian minister and others. If they have information on who they paid, they should make it public.
But the government talks all the time about agricultural production as one of the ways to even solve this inflation challenge that we have in the country. And they promise to distribute fertilizers to farmers. Did they give fertilizers to farmers?
Well, no worker has come out, no farmer has come out to acknowledge the receipt of such fertilizer. I don't know whether the fertilizers are for sale or for cultivation. Because if you are talking of cultivation, I think the season, we are about entering the season, or we are in the season now. There's no evidence so far. Of course, the distribution of fertilizer has been an ongoing process for ages.
Okay, but since organized labor announced the strike notice, 14-day strike notice, apart from the Minister of Information, has anybody in government made any effort to reach out to organized labor to even call a meeting?
Well, yes, the Minister of Power, the Minister of State Power, sent a letter across to us for a meeting on Monday by 4 p.m.
That's tomorrow. So will Labour honor that invitation?
We'll be there to listen to her.
Okay, just to listen. You are not going with a shopping basket to say these are the other specific things we want.
Well, you can see that they have not done anything. So if she's going to tell us how they're going to do it in a matter of hours, we'll be happy.
Well, the federal government has now set up a 37-person new national minimum wage committee, and organized labor is part of that committee. TUC, NLC, and some affiliate unions. Now, the last time the new national minimum wage was negotiated, 30,000, with some states even saying they cannot pay. And up to now, some of the states have not even paid. But the Tinubu administration says it is committed to signing into law a new bill, putting a new national minimum wage on the table. The other time, Labour was asking for 200,000 naira as a national minimum wage. This time around, what is Labour going to be asking for as a minimum wage? 1 million naira?
That's a question. This 1 million naira may be relevant if the value of the Nigeria continues to depreciate. And we need to, if the inflation continues to depreciate, if it is not checked. Because the demand, of labor is equally dependent on what is happening in the society. You remember that by the time we are contemplating 200,000, the exchange rate was at about 800, 900. As we talk today, the exchange rate is about 1,400 or even more. Now, those are the issues that determine the demand, and it is equally affecting the cost of living. And we had always said it that our demand will be based on cost of living index. You agree with me that today, even a bag of rice is going for about 60,000-70,000 naira or more. A bag of even corn, locally produced corn, is about 56 or more. You know, on and on. Foodstuff is getting out of reach. Now, are we going to get a minimum wage that will not, you know, be enough for transportation even for 1 week? We have to factor in all these issues. And that will determine the federal government's commitment to this negotiation. It's not just that they want to give us minimum wage. The old minimum wage will be expiring by April. And ordinarily, the federal government ought to have set up the committee, you know, 6 months before that time so that negotiation would have commenced. But up to now, the federal government didn't do it until they set up, they inaugurated the committee, and the committee have not sat. So it appears we are going to work within 1 month or two to agree on a figure. And I doubt how those ones are going, especially when you look at the people that the federal government assembled, you know, as members of the committee. They looked at some of the governors that are not paying even the existing minimum wage. And even they have a minister of budget, you know, who didn't implement his minimum wage as a governor. Now, if you have these people in the government team, you know, on the issue of minimum wage, some of us are not seeing a bright future on the work of this new minimum wage committee.
Okay, if I may go back to what government has done and not done. Government, when you reach an agreement, that memorandum of understanding, talked about the refineries. And indeed, since that meeting in October 2023, we have heard that the Port Harcourt refinery has reached a stage of mechanical completion. And now there are talks about the possibility of Port Harcourt refinery becoming, productive. Well, does that give you some hope, some relief? Secondly, the government has also, only this week, released over 100,000 grains of food to alleviate the suffering Nigerians are facing with food inflation. Commodity traders, rice farmers association are supposed to provide about 60,000 metric tons. The federal government is supposed to provide about 42,000 metric tons of maize, beans, and millet and all that. Well, I mean, will you give government credit for at least trying to provide food and for trying to get the refineries working?
Well, Dr. Bati, I feel sad, you know, when we talk of federal government giving people grants, you know, as if we are giving grants to pigeon and all these other birds. You know, at this time and age in Nigeria, we're talking of federal government providing how many tons of grains to Nigerians as a measure of, you know, stemming the level of hunger and poverty in the country. I beg to disagree that that is a serious insult to Nigerians. I think we should think of something else. On the refineries you talked about, from 2021, that was when the Buhari government promised that this Port Harcourt refinery will start production. It didn't work. We moved on to 2022. It didn't work. And they promised us, you know, that first quarter of 2023, it didn't work. And when the current president came, he now gave us December 2023. And if somebody is telling us that it is going to start work today and tomorrow, have they kept with the promise? That's the question. Heck no. You know, and then I think the issue of trust should be paramount in whatever we do as a government and as a people. You know, if you look at the end of every Federal Executive Council meeting, you will discover that the Federal Executive Council meeting seemed to have transformed into a procurement committee. Approval of this, approval of this, approval of 20,000, approval of 30,000. Not directly on policy issues. Even when they had agreements with organized labor with Nigerians, such meetings don't come out with clear statements on how to implement them. And I'm getting worried. So when Nigerians are hungry, you give them some bags of grains as a solution. That's not what we need at this point in time.
Well, what level of support do you have among the affiliate unions and the non-affiliate unions? Because you recall that last year, 2023, when under similar circumstances, Labour talked about a plan to go on strike. There were some groups, some Labour affiliate unions that said no, they didn't agree. They didn't think it was a good proposition because it will add to the burden of Nigerians. But what level of support do you have now from both affiliate and non-affiliate unions?
No Labour affiliate, no Labour center pulled out from our proposed strike last year. None. And if you have, pseudo organizations, talking about the strike, it is not Labour. Before we agree on all these issues, we build a consensus. Now, who are the people that are not being paid? Is the worker. Now, if the worker put pressure on you to say, in fact, some of them will say you have collected money, that is why you are not fighting for them to pay us. And now you are saying, pay them. Am I being told that the workers who said go and fight for us for this payment are saying we don't want that money? So it is not true. We should be able to, clear between propaganda and the real issue. The real issue is that government entered into agreement, 35,000 is grossly insufficient for transportation alone. And that same government, up to this moment, have not lived up to expectation. And why are we going to be talking of, those who say they will pull out? Those ones, they don't go to market, they don't enter buses. It is sheer propaganda. I think this is the right time for us to do things differently. The system of announcing that, A will not participate, the East will not participate, the North will not participate. We have passed that system. We have passed that level. Or the system of, there is an injunction, there is a court order to make you not to go on strike. That system, we have gone beyond it. We should face reality. When we enter agreement to pay any money, we'll live by it. It makes us more credible and not to, resort to other, distractions. They will not work. A hungry man will not obey any order.
It's good you mentioned the point about the court giving an order that, going on strike is will be a violation of the law. And I recall that the Office of the Attorney General had also reminded Labour of a subsisting court order. And yet, in spite of that, Labour is saying is giving notice of a strike when there is a ruling of the National Industrial Court that Labour is, has to obey the law.
It is not a violation of the law. Issue of strike, issue of withdrawal of services, there is no law in the world that it violates. Clearly, it stems from even a human right, of the right of an individual to wake up and say, I will not go out today, I will not work today. It's an inalienable right that cannot be withdrawn by any court. The capacity of Nigerian workers and their right to say they will not work tomorrow. No court can rule over it. Even the ILO, at the last governing body council, had authorized it, the right to strike, as a universal right of any worker. So if any court is sitting somewhere to say that government will enter into agreement, and for government to violate that agreement, government should be the beneficiary of it, you can see that that court is not for the people.
Okay, but many Nigerians are skeptical. You yourself mentioned it, that look, some Nigerians are saying, Labour will just go and collect money. And really, there is a perception problem with the leadership of organized labor, that what Labour does is, they will offer us a strike notice, then go into meetings back and forth with government, threatening to go on strike for one day, and then call it off. So the average Nigerian is saying, this is becoming a familiar pattern. And maybe that is why, government doesn't take labor seriously anymore. Because what we may well witness now will be another round of meetings upon meetings.
Well, I think we need to continue to educate the people. Labour cannot stop meeting with government. Never. And if we go for such meetings and get some agreement, get some commitment, we can continue to take an industrial action, which the same Nigerians are saying will worsen their well-being. So by the time we got 35,000 Naira as wage award, you and I never anticipated that the same government will not comply. Never. And if the same government failed to comply, is Labour expected to keep quiet to justify the people that were speculating? Now, if government had, lived up to expectation and paid their and fulfilled the agreement, will this notice come up again? Those are the questions begging for answer. But the easiest thing is to say, oh, they have given them money, and we are talking of perception. That perception, we are still to find out from where it is coming. It is still coming from the same state who felt that they should discredit Labour. If they have their uncle who they say is bribing Labour, let them tell that their uncle today that he should stop giving Labour money. He should stop giving anybody. In the Labour movement money, the one that I represent, if there's anybody they are giving money, they should stop it. When they don't live up to expectation in the agreement we have with them, we'll still take measures to make sure that those agreements are obeyed. This is clear. It's just like some information, going viral on the amount they say they needed for minimum wage committee meetings and whatever. And I continue to laugh. I have had about 15 to 20 meetings with this current government from the removal of subsidy to date. I challenge anybody in government to say they have given Labour 20 Naira or 10 kobo for transportation or hotel accommodation. So why are we deceiving ourselves with all this issue of Labour and perception? It does not hold.
Okay, well, two more questions. You talk about cost of living, but there are persons who argue that, look, wage indexation will just lead to more inflation. And there's even a press statement today by Osita Okechukwu, where he's an APC man. He says, well, why is Labour not buying into the idea of the Tinubu administration providing mass housing for workers? That's a better alternative instead of just asking for more money that would further drive up inflation. Do you think that suggestion makes sense? That wage indexation is a self-fulfilling proposition?
Is he talking economics, or he's talking about political affiliation? When you can't go to work with your minimum wage, now which economics is he talking about? Is he not looking at the cost of living? How much does it cost a worker to go to work and come back? 30,000 is gone. How much will it cost him to even feed? The UN came up with a policy that an average person, especially in the third world country, is not supposed to live on less than $2 per day. And now if you have a wife and 4 children, and they're living on $2 per day, you'll be talking of about $12 in a day. And if you multiply it, you'll be talking about 360. If you convert it, I'm talking of feeding, not talking of housing or whatever. We're talking of about 500,000 or whatever. And somebody says he's a chieftain of ABCD party, and he doesn't see it from either the cost of living index or from the economic perspective. And the person will be there, the currency is being devalued on daily basis. Cost of living is going up on daily basis. And the person is saying that wage should be constant while other variables go up. The person did not go to school.
Osita Okechukwu was most recently Director General of Voice of Nigeria. But finally, NLC president. Finally, some workers are going to represent us later today in the AFCON 2023 tournament in Côte d'Ivoire. I'm talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, who are now in the finals, and they will be filing out onto the field of play against Ivory Coast. And these are Nigerian workers too. And, more workers have even gone there to cheer them up. What do you have to say to the Super Eagles as we wrap up?
Well, I wish them the best, the very best. We don't have any reason, not to constantly return that cup for years and ages. I think beyond this, ad hocism we have applied, we need to keep our team intact. We need to have a formidable team that can conquer the world. That is where we are today. I wish them the best, in this match, in this tournament. They should not go into it with any half measure. We should field our best. This is a match that must be a must-win, given what they may call home advantage or whatever of where this match is being played. The Ivory Coast they saw during the qualifying series, during the group series, will not be the Ivory Coast they will meet today. We need to beat them clear and neat. They should not subject Nigerians to the blood pressure of penalty shootout. Never again. Good luck to the Flying Eagles. Super Eagles.
Thank you very much. President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero. Thank you for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show.